Welcome to Who Immortal Today, the channel where fame, time, and transformation collide. Today we're diving into Golden Age Hollywood stars with shockingly bad hygiene. 6 icons who smelled worse than they looked. And trust me, these behind-the-scenes details will leave you speechless. From Hollywood heartthrobs to screen goddesses, these legends lit up the silver screen. But off camera, let's just say, you wouldn't want to be downwind. Some aged gracefully, others reinvented themselves completely, and a few, you might not recognize them at all. Get ready for jaw-dropping before and afters, secret habits, and the unfiltered truth behind some of the biggest names in old Hollywood. Main segment, 6 stars with not-so-stellar hygiene. News 1. Bette Davis, the smoking icon of Hollywood's golden age. Bette Davis, born Ruth Elizabeth Davis on April 5, 1908, in Lowell, Massachusetts, was a legendary American actress renowned for her intensity, fierce independence, and groundbreaking performances across a career that spanned more than 50 years. Her legacy as one of Hollywood's greatest actresses is matched only by her larger-than-life personality, marked by sharp wit, unapologetic candor, and a well-known chain-smoking habit that became inseparable from her public image. Early life and ambitions. Bette Davis's parents separated when she was young, and she was raised primarily by her mother, Ruth Favor Davis, who encouraged her artistic ambitions. After attending boarding school, Davis enrolled at Cushing Academy and later studied acting at the John Murray Anderson School for the Dramatic Arts in New York, where fellow student Lucille Ball also trained. Davis's early interest in theater led to a successful Broadway debut in 1929 and soon caught the attention of Hollywood. Breaking into Hollywood, Davis moved to Los Angeles and signed with Universal Pictures in 1930. Her debut, Bad Sister, 1931, went largely unnoticed, and the studio initially struggled to find roles that suited her unconventional looks and dramatic acting style. Her career breakthrough came after moving to Warner Brothers and starring in Of Human Bondage, 1934. Though the role was emotionally grueling and unsympathetic, Davis's raw performance won critical acclaim and established her reputation as a serious actress. Stardom and style. Bette Davis won her first Academy Award for Dangerous, 1935, and her second for Jezebel, 1938, cementing her position as one of Hollywood's top actresses. She became known for playing strong-willed, morally ambiguous women characters who defied expectations and dominated the screen with equal parts vulnerability and venom. Films like Dark Victory, 1939, Now, Voyager, 1942, All About Eve, 1950, and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962, showcased Davis's dramatic range and her signature style. Intense eye contact, clipped diction, and unwavering emotional presence. But alongside her talent came a reputation for being difficult. Davis was fiercely independent, unafraid to speak her mind, and willing to battle studios for better roles. In 1936, she famously sued Warner Brothers to break free of a restrictive contract, losing the case but earning respect for her fight for artistic control. The chain-smoking persona. One of the most distinctive and talked-about aspects of Bette Davis's off-screen image was her chain-smoking. Cigarettes became part of her trademark aesthetic. Whether in candid interviews, behind-the-scenes photos, or on-screen roles, she was rarely seen without one. Her raspy voice, expressive eyes behind a veil of smoke, and confident air all contributed to a persona that was both glamorous and intimidating. However, Davis's smoking was more than a visual flourish. It had a real impact on her life and relationships. According to accounts from co-stars and directors, the strong odor of tobacco lingered on her skin, hair, and clothing. Fellow actors reportedly dreaded intimate scenes with her, often describing the pervasive scent of smoke that clung to everything around her. While Davis never apologized for it, her habit was emblematic of her personality. Defiant, self-assured, and uninterested in pleasing others. Her cigarette use also became central to many of her roles. In Now, Voyager, for instance, a single moment of lighting a cigarette became a symbol of emotional liberation. In All About Eve, the famous line, "Fasten your seatbelts, it's going to be a bumpy night," was delivered through a haze of smoke that seemed to echo her character's jaded glamour. Personal life and rivalries. Bette Davis was married 4 times and had one daughter, B.D. Hyman, with whom she later had a well-publicized falling out. Her personal life was often turbulent, marked by heartbreak, professional betrayals, and an enduring rivalry with fellow actress Joan Crawford. Their long-standing feud culminated in their co-starring roles in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, a film whose off-screen tension was nearly as legendary as the on-screen drama. Despite professional highs and personal lows, Davis remained a commanding figure in the industry. In 1977, she became the first woman to receive the American Film Institute's Lifetime Achievement Award, and she continued to act into the 1980s despite health issues. Later years and legacy. Bette Davis was diagnosed with breast cancer in the early 1980s and suffered a series of strokes that partially paralyzed her face. Nonetheless, she continued to work and give interviews, embodying the same determination that had defined her earlier career. She published 2 autobiographies, The Lonely Life and This and That, which offered candid reflections on her work, relationships, and survival in a tough industry. She died on October 6, 1989 in Neuilly-sur-Seine, France, at the age of 81. Her epitaph famously reads, "She did it the hard way, a lasting influence." Bette Davis's influence on film and popular culture is vast. Known for redefining the idea of a leading lady, she challenged gender roles, aging stereotypes, and the expectation that women in Hollywood be submissive or conventionally beautiful. Her name lives on not just in awards and retrospectives, but in music, fashion, and film references. While her cigarette habit may have left her co-stars reeling, it also became part of the mystique that made Davis unforgettable. Her image with arched brows, cigarette in hand, and eyes full of fire remains one of the most enduring in cinematic history. Bette Davis didn't just act, she transformed every role into a battleground of human complexity, and she lived life the same way, uncompromising, intense, and unforgettable. News 2. Spencer Tracy, the reluctant groom and Hollywood's reluctant groom. Spencer Tracy, born April 5, 1900, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was one of the most revered actors of Hollywood's golden age. Celebrated for his natural, understated acting style and emotional depth, Tracy's career spanned over 4 decades, earning him 2 Academy Awards for Best Actor and solidifying his status as one of the most respected actors of his time. Early life and career. Tracy's journey into acting began in his youth, and he honed his craft at Ripon College and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. His early stage work led to a successful Broadway career, which eventually caught the attention of Hollywood studios. By the 1930s, Tracy had transitioned to film, signing with Fox Studios and later with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, where he became a leading man known for his versatility and depth. Personal life and relationship with Katharine Hepburn. In 1941, Tracy met Katharine Hepburn while filming Woman of the Year. Their professional partnership quickly blossomed into a personal relationship that would endure for over 25 years. Despite Tracy's ongoing marriage to Louise Treadwell, he and Hepburn maintained a discreet and deeply connected bond. Hepburn was known to be fiercely protective of Tracy, often stepping in to manage his personal challenges, including his struggles with alcoholism. Reputation and legacy. Tracy's off-screen life was marked by complexities that contrasted with his on-screen persona. His relationship with Hepburn, while deeply affectionate, was also marred by his personal demons, including his battle with alcoholism. Despite these challenges, Tracy's legacy as an actor remains untarnished, with his performances continuing to be celebrated for their authenticity and emotional depth. Spencer Tracy passed away on June 10, 1967, leaving behind a legacy that continues to influence actors and filmmakers today. His contributions to cinema and his enduring partnership with Katharine Hepburn are remembered as highlights of Hollywood's storied history. In popular culture, his influence persists, notably through the 2017 television series Feud, Bette and Joan, which dramatized his rivalry with Joan Crawford, highlighting his complex character and enduring impact on the film industry. Spencer Tracy remains a symbol of strength, independence, and the relentless pursuit of artistic integrity, solidifying his status as one of Hollywood's most iconic figures. News 3. Jean Harlow, Hollywood's platinum blonde and her unconventional grooming habits. Jean Harlow, born Harleyan Harlow Carpenter on March 3, 1911 in Kansas City, Missouri, was a pioneering figure in early Hollywood. Known as the blonde bombshell and the platinum blonde, she became one of the most iconic actresses of the 1930s. Her striking appearance and bold persona made her a favorite among audiences and a trendsetter in the film industry. The platinum blonde look, Harlow's signature platinum blonde hair was achieved through a rigorous and harsh process. Her hairdresser used a mixture of peroxide, ammonia, Clorox bleach, and Lux soap flakes to lighten her naturally ash blonde hair. This combination was not only damaging but also painful, often leading to hair loss and scalp irritation. To mitigate the damage, Harlow occasionally wore wigs, especially during the filming of certain movies. Grooming habits and hygiene. Despite her glamorous image, Harlow's personal grooming habits were less than conventional. She reportedly went several days without bathing, a fact that became a topic of gossip among her contemporaries. Her aversion to regular bathing was noted by those who worked with her, and it contrasted sharply with her polished on-screen persona. This aspect of her personal life was often discussed in Hollywood circles, highlighting the disparity between her public image and private habits. Personal life and legacy. Harlow's personal life was marked by both triumphs and tragedies. She was briefly married to actor Paul Byrne, whose mysterious death in 1932 cast a shadow over her life. Despite the challenges, Harlow continued to rise in Hollywood, becoming one of the most bankable stars of her time. Her untimely death from kidney failure on June 7, 1937 at the age of 26 shocked the world and cut short a promising career. Today, Jean Harlow's legacy endures. She remains a symbol of early Hollywood glamour and a trailblazer for women in the film industry. Her influence can be seen in the careers of later stars who adopted her platinum blonde look and bold persona. Despite the controversies surrounding her personal habits, Harlow's contributions to cinema and her lasting impact on popular culture are undeniable. News 4. W.C. Fields, the comedic genius with a distinctive aura. U.C. Fields, born William Claude Dukenfield on January 29, 1880, in Darby, Pennsylvania, was one of the most influential figures in early American entertainment. Renowned for his cantankerous screen persona, distinctive voice, sharp wit, and affinity for alcohol both on-screen and off, Fields carved out a niche that blended satire, slapstick, and cynicism. Despite his success, he was also infamous for his rather lax approach to personal hygiene, earning him a reputation as the comedic genius who often smelled like a distillery. Early life and humble beginnings. Fields was born into a working-class family and experienced a turbulent childhood, marked by a rocky relationship with his father. He left home at an early age, supporting himself through various odd jobs before discovering a talent for juggling. This skill would become his entry point into show business. He began performing in vaudeville and quickly became one of the most respected comedic jugglers in the circuit. By the early 1900s, he was performing on major stages, including the prestigious Ziegfeld Follies. While juggling brought him initial fame, Fields always had a flair for comedic storytelling and character work, which he slowly incorporated into his act, transitioned to film and rise to stardom. By the 1920s and 30s, Fields had transitioned into silent films and eventually talkies. With the advent of sound, his gravelly nasal voice, perfect for sardonic one-liners, became a comedic weapon. Fields's film roles often portrayed him as a misanthropic curmudgeon, skeptical of children, animals, and most of society. His most beloved works include It's a Gift, 1934, The Bank Dick, 1940, and Never Give a Sucker an Even Break, 1941. What made Fields unique was the way he blended the image of a pompous blowhard with a sense of vulnerability. Though his characters often indulged in drink and bluster, there was an underlying intelligence and sadness that added depth to his humor. It was this complexity that endeared him to audiences and critics alike. The whiskey aura and hygiene rumors. W.C. Fields' association with alcohol was more than just a screen act. He was a heavy drinker in real life, and over time it became more than a habit. It became his brand. Many who worked with him recalled that his very sweat reeked of whiskey, leading to the rumor that his body smelled like a distillery. Rather than taking regular baths, Fields reportedly preferred to freshen up with cologne or by airing out his clothes. Full-body bathing, by most accounts, was not high on his list of priorities. Co-stars and crew members spoke of the pungent scent that often followed him, a mix of perspiration, alcohol, and pipe smoke. But in true Fields fashion, he leaned into the image. He would joke about drinking, once quipping, "I never drink water, fish fornicate in it." Despite the off-putting odor, people tolerated or even appreciated his eccentricity. For Fields, being offensive or unconventional was part of the act. While others polished their public images, Fields gave the world a version of himself that was loud, unkempt, and unapologetically authentic. Personal life and private demons. Fields was notoriously private, particularly about his personal relationships. He married Harriet Hattie Hughes in 1900, and the couple had a son, William Claude Fields Jr. Their relationship, however, became strained, and they eventually separated, though they never formally divorced. He rarely saw his son and lived much of his adult life in solitude or with a rotating cast of acquaintances. Fields preferred a quiet home life, spending much of his later years reading, writing scripts, and tinkering with inventions. Despite his public image as a drunkard and misanthrope, those close to him often described him as intelligent, well-read, and generous in private. Still, his drinking took a toll. He suffered from various health issues, including cirrhosis of the liver, and was plagued by chronic illnesses in his later years. Yet even as his health declined, his wit never dulled. Decline in final years. By the early 1940s, Fields' health had significantly worsened, and his career began to fade. He continued to make radio appearances and a few short film segments, but his screen time diminished. He spent his final years battling illness and drinking heavily. W.C. Fields died on December 25, 1946, at the age of 66, in Pasadena, California. Ever the contrarian, he famously said he wanted his epitaph to read, "On the whole, I'd rather be in Philadelphia," a line that still adorns his grave marker today. Legacy. W.C. Fields remains a towering figure in the history of American comedy. His influence can be seen in the work of comedians like Johnny Carson, Rodney Dangerfield, and even more contemporary figures like Bill Murray. Fields paved the way for a style of humor that was skeptical, sardonic, and rich in character. Despite his rum-soaked reputation and lax grooming habits, Fields' brilliance as a performer transcended his flaws. He was a trailblazer in both vaudeville and film, creating timeless characters that still resonate today. His ability to lampoon authority, mock pretension, and reveal the absurdity of social norms made him a true original. In an era that often demanded polish and propriety, W.C. Fields offered the opposite, and America loved him for it. Whether he was juggling pins, cursing bratty kids, or floating through life on a wave of booze and sarcasm, he did so on his own terms. And that, more than anything, may be the secret to his enduring charm. News 5. Tallulah Bankhead, the unapologetic star who redefined glamour and cleanliness. Tallulah Bankhead, born January 31, 1902, in Huntsville, Alabama, was more than just a stage and screen actress. She was a walking whirlwind of glamour, scandal, brilliance, and unfiltered eccentricity. With her whiskey voice, outrageous wit, and fearlessly flamboyant lifestyle, she became one of the most notorious figures of 20th century American entertainment. And while she captivated audiences with her talent and larger-than-life persona, her hygiene or lack thereof became legendary in its own right. Southern roots and early ascent. Born into a powerful political family, her father was U.S. Speaker of the House William B. Bankhead, Tallulah grew up surrounded by influence, though tragedy marked her early years. Her mother died shortly after her birth, and she spent much of her childhood yearning for attention and validation, something she would later find on stage. By the time she was a teenager, Tallulah had made her way to New York City, where she studied acting and quickly landed roles. She was soon lured to London, where she became a West End sensation during the 1920s, known as much for her unconventional behavior and sexual openness as for her acting prowess. It was in Britain that Tallulah honed her image as an icon of bohemian rebellion, Hollywood and Broadway stardom. Though Hollywood courted her in the 1930s, Bankhead never quite clicked with the film industry. Her work in movies like Devil in the Deep, 1932, and Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, 1944, showed she had screen presence, but she thrived on stage. Her true power came through in plays like The Little Foxes and The Skin of Our Teeth, where her performances were magnetic, commanding, and critically acclaimed. Yet, wherever Tallulah went, stories followed. She spoke openly about her affairs with both men and women, famously quipping, "My father warned me about men and booze, but he never mentioned women and cocaine." Her life became as much performance art as her stage roles, and her unpredictability kept her perpetually in the public eye. A star's scent and sensational habits. Bankhead's hygiene, or lack thereof, became an open secret in elite social circles. Known for refusing to wear underwear or use deodorant, she shocked and overwhelmed many who worked closely with her. Friends, perhaps only half joking, once said she was clean where it counted, a phrase that underscored both her irreverent attitude and disregard for convention. She disdained societal expectations of cleanliness and femininity. It was common for guests in close quarters to be overwhelmed by her scent, which was often a mix of sweat, perfume, and last night's party. Even in luxury hotels or on film sets, Bankhead reportedly saw bathing as optional, not essential. While many in polite society would have been shunned for such behavior, Tallulah's charisma somehow gave her a pass. Her outrageousness was part of her mystique. She said what she wanted, dressed how she pleased, and didn't let social pressure dictate her lifestyle, not even when it came to soap and water. The big voice on the big show. During the 1950s, Bankhead became a major radio presence, hosting NBC's The Big Show. With her unmistakable southern drawl and booming voice, she was a perfect radio personality. The show featured top-tier stars and became a huge hit. Even there, her dramatic entrances and unpredictable behavior were part of the appeal. On air, she was fearless, often unscripted, and capable of throwing shade with an elegant twist. She called everyone darling, drank heavily between takes, and treated the medium as her personal stage. She could be rude, gracious, flirtatious, or biting all in the same hour. Yet audiences loved her for it. Decline, Isolation, and Final Acts. As the years wore on, Bankhead's outlandish lifestyle began to catch up with her. Her health declined due to alcohol and drug use, and by the 1960s she was mostly retired, living in relative isolation. Her final performances, including guest roles on television series like Batman, where she played the villainous Black Widow, were odd, but oddly fitting codas to a career built on shock, charm, and rebellion. She passed away in New York City on December 12, 1968, at age 66. Despite her diminished late career fame, the public reaction to her death reflected deep affection. For all her antics and flaws, she was remembered as a blazing original, a pioneer of personal freedom, and a performer who never faked an ounce of who she was. Legacy of a trailblazer. Tallulah Bankhead broke every rule in the book. She defied gender norms, dismissed conventional morality, and scoffed at the standards of ladylike behavior right down to hygiene. Yet beneath the headline-worthy habits was a woman of extraordinary talent, one who influenced generations of performers and liberated the stage and screen from stiff formalism. Her boldness paved the way for others to be raw, real, and wild. She remains a symbol of unapologetic individuality, a reminder that genius and rebellion often walk hand in hand. Even now, stories about her no-underwear preference and her overpowering body odor are shared not just with amusement, but admiration, for a woman who lived fully, loudly, and without shame. Tallulah Bankhead was not perfect. She was unpredictable, indulgent, and at times infuriating. But in her imperfection lay her magic, a dazzling, unfiltered humanity that no amount of perfume or polish could ever replicate. New 6. Robert Mitchum, Hollywood's original rebel with a grungy charm. Robert Mitchum, born on August 6, 1917 in Bridgeport, Connecticut, was the epitome of Hollywood cool, aloof, magnetic, and effortlessly tough. A giant of post-war American cinema, Mitchum built a career playing anti-heroes and morally ambiguous men, all while cultivating a real-life persona that made him one of the industry's most notorious bad boys. He was the kind of star who seemed immune to fame's polish, embracing a lifestyle that was as rough-edged and unruly as the characters he portrayed on screen, a restless youth. Mitchum's early life was marked by defiance. After his father died when he was just 2, he was raised in a modest home by his mother, a Norwegian immigrant. His rebellious streak emerged young. He was expelled from school more than once, and by his teens, he had taken to the road, riding boxcars, getting into brawls, and working odd jobs across the country. These years, Mitchum later claimed, included time on a chain gang, whether fact or myth. They fed the image of a man forged by the American underclass. That tough background informed the authenticity he brought to film. He wasn't acting like a man who didn't care. He genuinely didn't. His deep voice, heavy-lidded eyes, and lazy swagger became the trademarks of a Hollywood archetype. the hard-boiled drifter with a heart buried somewhere deep beneath the cynicism. A star is born, but begrudgingly, Mitchum broke into Hollywood almost by accident. After working as a machine operator and ghostwriter for astrologers, he started acting in B-movie westerns. His breakthrough came with the 1945 war drama The Story of G.I. Joe, which earned him an Oscar nomination. From there, he starred in genre-defining noirs like Out of the Past, 1947, and psychological thrillers like Cape Fear, 1962. Despite his rising star, Mitchum resisted the celebrity lifestyle. He didn't play the part of the polished leading man. In fact, he seemed to resent it. He didn't care much for interviews or publicity. In press junkets, he offered biting sarcasm instead of canned charm. He once described acting as just a job, saying, "I've got two kinds of acting, with and without a horse." The hygiene myth and the grunge legend. Mitchum's indifference extended far beyond attitude. He reportedly didn't brush his teeth regularly, rarely changed clothes, and often smelled like a cocktail of cigarettes, sweat, and last night's bourbon. Co-stars joked about his lived-in look, noting that Mitchum could show up to set rumpled and unshaven and still steal the scene. Personal grooming simply wasn't a priority. He was grunge decades before grunge had a name. He didn't mind if people talked. In fact, he seemed to welcome the mystique. When asked about his careless image, Mitchum responded, "Look, I gave up worrying about how I look a long time ago. I just get out of bed and go to work." Whether it was laziness, rebellion, or a refusal to conform, Mitchum became a cultural outlier in an industry built on artifice. Trouble with the law. Mitchum's public image as a rule-breaker wasn't just for show. In 1948, he was famously arrested during a marijuana raid in Los Angeles. The scandal should have derailed his career, but instead, it enhanced his outlaw persona. After serving a short sentence in a minimum security facility, Mitchum emerged unscathed and arguably more popular than ever. Fans viewed him as a genuine rebel, not just playing one on screen, a family man with complications. Despite his wild man reputation, Mitchum was married to the same woman, Dorothy Spence, for nearly 60 years. The two wed in 1940 and raised 3 children together. Their relationship, however, was far from simple. Mitchum was frequently unfaithful and emotionally distant. Yet Dorothy remained by his side, reportedly understanding that her husband, for all his faults, was still devoted in his own way. Mitchum's children, including actor Christopher Mitchum and writer James Mitchum, have spoken about their father's contradictions. Gruff but generous, unpredictable but loyal. He rarely offered praise, but his love was expressed in quiet, consistent ways. Final years and enduring legacy. Mitchum continued working into the 1990s, with notable later performances in films like The Friends of Eddie Coyle, 1973, Farewell, My Lovely, 1975, and even a remake of Cape Fear in 1991, where he played a supporting role opposite Robert De Niro. His performances remained compelling, grounded in that same naturalism and world-weariness that had defined his career. He died on July 1, 1997 at the age of 79, leaving behind a remarkable film legacy, more than 100 movies spanning 5 decades, and an indelible mark on American pop culture. The Mitchum myth. Robert Mitchum remains one of classic Hollywood's most enigmatic figures. He was too rough for the matinee idol mold, too talented to be ignored, and too honest to pretend to be anything he wasn't. He walked onto film sets in wrinkled clothes and rumpled hair, muttered his lines with bored precision, and yet no one could take their eyes off him. While modern stars carefully curate their image, Mitchum couldn't be bothered. That nonchalance became part of his mystique. He didn't just play the outsider, he lived it. Whether standing in shadow in a film noir, or lounging on set in yesterday's shirt, Robert Mitchum never tried to be cool. He just was. So there you have it. 6 old Hollywood legends who proved that looking like a star doesn't always mean smelling like one. Behind the glamour and fame were some truly funky facts, and it just goes to show not everything in Tinseltown sparkled. Which star shocked you the most? Drop their name in the comments below. We want to hear from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss a transformation, a twist, or a truth bomb from Who Immortal Today. Until next time, stay curious, stay legendary, and maybe keep some deodorant close just in case.